All right, hey everybody. Today we're going to be doing a high top fade on my client. I've been looking forward to doing this video for a while just because one, this isn't a cut you see too often, and also I'm using the Masters in this one, which is way different from most clippers, mainly because of the guard system. At first, I just started off by just prepping his hair, just combing it out, picking it out. And now I'm setting up pretty much my baseline with a number two close. With that number two, I know that it's blending pretty much straight into the whatever bulk I have up top. So I really want to set up a good foundation for the haircut. And in my opinion, it starts right here when you're pretty much prepping your fade area. And you seen I went a little bit lower, right? I kind of brought it to his ridge, and now I'm going past that and going straight up, trying to create some shape and blending into the top of his head. And later on, you'll see I'm going to be using just the clipper close just to help really shape it. But yeah, just taking my time and following it straight through. I don't want to flick out. I don't want to dig in. I'm just trying to make a completely straight line going vertically up. Yeah, right there you can see it just pretty much again connected. To me, I find like a number two guard is perfect because it keeps the hair pretty much as dark as it's going to be. I think a three guard is like really the darkest guard you could use, as in like number two guard is going to keep the hair dark, but number three is going to keep it to the darkest shade that their hair possibly could be, no matter how thin or thick their hair is. And right here, this is what I was talking about. I'm just gliding off the top of his head, going straight up, and using the Masters and using the really flat blade just to create that shape. And towards the end, I do flick out in a way. That's mainly because I want to fine tune it with scissors later on, which is why I'm doing that. Right there, I wish I had a better angle. I pretty much went straight across, and now I'm just following that line, and I'm also using the mirror in front of me as a guide. I'm just trying to follow just pretty much the straightest line I can. And now look, going back, detailing that top portion that I was flicking out on. And as you can see, I don't really flick out until I completely pass the top of his hair. And at this point, I'm flicking out just no hairs on top of my clipper, just keeping it clean. Makes it a lot easier for me to visually see what I'm cutting. And then you can see I'm going back in, just fine tuning it. And yep, here we go with the scissors. Now I'm just cleaning up any loose hairs sticking out. Now I'm setting in my bald line with my trimmers. For me, I love using these sabers, one, because they are extremely sharp. They cut extremely close. And two, they have a wider blade. So I'm able to like clear a lot of real estate within one pass. And for me, I try to keep two trimmers, one strictly for debulking and one strictly for lineups. That way my trimmers just don't get dull quickly, at least my liners, right? With the ones that are dealing with bulk, it really doesn't matter. Those are going to get dull regardless, just because they're dealing with more volume of hair. And right here, you can tell, like, just taking my time, making sure my lines are clean. And right in here, right in between that line, I'm just going in and cleaning it up. I'm basically setting up the bald portion of my fade, right? And towards the bottom, I'm keeping that bulk, right? I was trying a new method, trying to see what difference it would make. And genuinely, I do like this method just because it helps you see a better contrast of like light to dark, at least for me when I'm fading, right? Seeing that really, really light point towards the bottom and knowing I'm blending into that darkness, right? It's a lot easier when you have that bulk towards the bottom. It just makes the fade just separate a lot more, you know what I mean? And like right here, I'm setting up my open guideline, right? I know I'm just fading in between the darkness at the bottom and the darkness up top. Like, and what I mean by that is like the bulk that I left at the bottom and the bulk at the top, right? It makes me hone in and just focus in on just that small little fraction of the fade whenever I do that. I'm just setting up my line all the way through, keeping it nice and symmetrical. And another thing to keep in mind with the Masters, right? The blade open on the Masters is definitely longer than the typical blade open on most clippers, so you gotta be mindful. So what that means is the hair towards the top of that guideline is longer than it would be if I used a senior all the way open, or an instinct or something like that. Right here, I'm just taking my time blending out that line, using a lot of corners, as you can see. And I definitely do like that about the Masters. Being able to have such a long throw on the lever helps you out when it comes to blending and really stretching any fade. You know, like with the clipper open, right? Or just the blade alone, no guard. That's when you're really cutting the hair as clean as possible. When you throw a plastic guard on it and it's feeding that plastic guard into, the plastic guard is feeding the hair into your clippers, it doesn't really grab the hair as well as like just the metal blade on the standard clipper will. So that's a huge advantage whenever you're using Masters. You don't really have to worry about using the guard towards the bottom of your fade as much. Obviously, when you throw a guard on it, you're still gonna have, I wouldn't even say that issue, but that inconvenience you're still gonna have, right? Right here, I'm just tapping with the corners. For me, so my regular system, right? I like to work in panels. That's what I call them, right? I look at the left side, right side of the head. There's two separate panels, and then this back portion is the last panel that connects both of them together, all right? And like I said, when I'm fading, I like to focus on one area at a time. So I would focus on the right panel or left panel first, whichever one, I start off at. Then do the opposite side and then the back. And right here, I'm just using the trimmers just to connect that bottom line into the blade open. And if you guys ever have trouble taking out any kind of bald line, I highly recommend just using whatever you put that line in with. So whatever you used to create the line, that's what you could use to remove the line. And the reason behind that is because when you set a line, right? I've said this in a previous video, I'm pretty sure, but when you set a line, right, you're creating a separation in the hair from the bulk to the length of hair that you just cut, right? And to fade that line out, you're pretty much spreading the increase in length across the person's head gradually, right? So if that bottom line is still faintly there, you have to spread what you use to make the line. As in the blade open, that's the line you make, right? You have to use the blade open to spread that line upwards and not give it that compressed look. All a line is pretty much just compressed length of hair, a compressed long piece of hair against a compressed, well, not even compressed, but against a short piece of hair. When there's not enough room in between those two gradual lengths of hair, it creates a line. And also too, if you want to play it safe, right, like for me, I'm using the corners. The corners help you blend because you're not taking out chunks at a time. You're really able to detail it and remove what you want, and it gives you a lot more control and precision. And also, you have to be very mindful of when you're doing it, right? Using your corners, it's not really going to help you if you don't know what you're doing, right? So whenever you're using your corners, especially your corners, you really want to be mindful of what you're doing and cut with intention. You don't want to just be flicking at the line, flicking at the corner, flicking at the line with the corner, right? You want to be going against the grain, with the grain, and knowing what it does, right? If you're cutting the hair against the grain, then you're obviously going to cut it a lot closer. If you're cutting it with the grain, you're not cutting it as close. And what I mean, right? Right here, I'm using the corner, right? You notice I go from left to right, facing his like eyebrows, right? The clipper's going that angle, like right there, right? That is not cutting the hair as close because the hair doesn't grow in that direction. So once I see that didn't really take anything out, I go back against the grain, right? Like, look, right here, I'm going with the grain, and I could tell it's doing what I want it to do, but back there, you see, now I'm going, well, no, my bad. I was going with the grain, and then I started going with against the grain right there. And that's because I seen how light my clipper was basically making his hair, and I wanted to correct that because it wasn't going light enough, basically. And then right here, same process. See, I'm going left to right, and then right there, boom. Both sides, I was technically going against the grain. Like right here, I'm going against the grain because his hair follicle is going that direction. It's growing down towards my clippers. And the same thing on the other side. Well, when I get to it. Right there, you see I'm going higher up. Yeah. Like those little minute details right there is what really helps you like control the blend. Like you see how right here I'm cutting against the grain of his hair. And when I go a little bit high, no, I dropped the guard. It'd be a lot easier in real time, but I'm basically trying to predict what I'm doing. But I hope you guys get the concept. Definitely explain that in detail. And this portion of the fade, right? Like from the one guard open all the way down to skin, that is where you're seeing the majority of detail. Like right here, now that I'm blending into the bulk, you're not really going to see too much crazy difference in shade in terms of like his hair, right? Like right now I'm using the two clothes and going back over that fundamental line I set up, but yeah, I'm still using it anyway to see what it could remove, right? And once I see the job is done and it can't really remove more, boom, one guard open, and just taking my time removing the amount of weight slowly. And you could tell that one guard, me slowly closing it, is definitely we're in the blend together. There's still some work to be done, but for the most part, the foundation of the haircut is definitely coming together. Anything beyond that would be just detailing. And right there, I just pretty much seen a little spot. I'm like, might as well just take it out now. That's why I just removed that guard and just kind of went in there and cleaned it up. Also, if you guys have anything you want to like see or learn, definitely comment down below. For me, right? I really want to create this channel to give out just personal self-development advice for barbers, right? In my opinion, if you want to learn how to cut hair, that's really done behind the chair, or you know, when you're working with a client. You watching these videos, you'll pick some things up, but you have to implement them and use them in order to really learn and progress, right? So for me, that's not really a main focus for this channel. Yeah, I'm putting out these haircut tutorials, but I'm trying to not really teach you guys step by step how to get these haircuts done, right? This is the closest thing I've done to a step by step, but for the most part, I just want to give you guys a practical advice you could use in order to better your career, you know, increase your money behind the chair, and also have more control over your own personal life and your own, you know, clients, right? Because I remember when I first started, I had, basically no clients. I started off with just cutting like one person every 2 weeks. That's it. And now I'm definitely grateful to say I'm in a position where I don't have to really worry about clients. Like, for the most part, I know I'm coming in every day, working the whole time, and not waiting around, hoping a client can show up. I'm fortunate to be in that position, but I want to get other people to that position as well. And also, right now, right, I would just remove the bulk towards the bottom, and now I could really see what the fade looks like, right? Like, doing this definitely helps you stretch out the blend more, at least for me, and also controls the gradient for me, or visualizes the gradient a lot better. Like, didn't use a shaver or nothing yet. That's just trimmer. But back to what I was saying, right? Like, I definitely want to give out practical advice to help out just the average barber, someone in barber school, someone who's just getting into it. So, like, if you guys have questions on clippers, trimmers, or how to grow your clientele, even how to do certain haircuts, or how to simplify certain things, or if you guys want to know a little bit more of my thought process behind cutting hair, or like my system on how to cut hair, definitely like just say it in the comments, and I'll try my best to make a video on it. And I'm also going to be making videos on clipper reviews as well. Now with the shaver, right, I always go down at first, and then I come back up with the shaver. It makes it a lot easier to blend into it. That way you're not creating any harsh lines or anything like that. And another tip, if you guys aren't replacing like the blades on your shavers, I would say, like, granted, it depends on how much volume you have, right? How many people you cut within a week, within a month, or whatever, right? But I would, like, for me, right, I try to replace my shaver heads after, like, I would say a month, 2 months max of like cutting hair. And trust me, when you guys start doing that, you'll notice a difference, because your shavers, like, they definitely get dull. And if you're cutting every single day, back to back to back, you're not noticing it client by client. But when you change that shaver head, I guarantee you'll notice a difference, and you'll be like, wow, what have I been using this whole time? But going to his lineup, pretty much keeping it as natural as possible. I just want to like barely touch it. And in this video, right, my trimmers are more zero gap than what it is in this video, and you could tell like they're already hitting, pretty much making that line for me. But yeah, I adjust them to be closer, and these things are elite. Like, look at that. I'm barely tapping it and creating that line. I don't want to go in at all. Just want to pretty much leave it natural. Like, for me, especially with hairlines, I don't want my client to come back to me, right, and I see regrowth. Like, I see where I made the line prior, right? I want him to come back to me and his hairline just looks completely natural, like it hasn't even been touched. That's one of the big things for me as a client when I get my haircut. As a week goes by or whatever, and I see a little bit of regrowth, I'm like, damn, like that sucks. But yeah, I'm just being very mindful of that. And the most important thing whenever you're doing any line is just making sure it's straight. I'm telling you, clients will definitely appreciate it. Not every client wants the craziest, sharpest hairline in the world. And honestly, not every client can get that. Some clients, their hairline is just crooked, or, more of a widow's peak. And for them, what they like a little touch. Like, especially like some clients, right, that I have who have widow's peaks, right? Some people get it removed, right? But other people I have keep it, and they just bring it in just slightly in the front and just have a more naturally round but straight hairline. because for them, they'll rather it look like that and slowly grow back in, you know, over time, rather than pushing it all the way in and make it completely straight, and then it grows in and you just see a huge patch in the front of their head, you know. I'm always thinking in the mindset of the client, what the client would want and what would be best for the client long term. I don't want them to come and get a haircut from me and then, you know, a week later their hairline is growing back in and they come in every 3 weeks, every month, you know. It just doesn't make sense for them to have a super crispy hairline and the widow's peak removed when it's just going to grow back in a week, and then they're not going to see me for 2 weeks. So after I cut their hair, 1 week it looks good, and then the other 2 weeks it doesn't. So 1/3 of the time the haircut looks good, nah, I don't like that personally. I want my haircuts to look good as they grow out. That's like a huge personal touch, I guess, that I have with haircuts. Like, I really am mindful of how my clients look when they come back, you know. And yeah, right there, I'm just detailing. The cut's pretty much done. Let me know what you guys think, and if you have any ideas for future videos, just let me know. Enjoy the outro.